these are all such gems, you know. I want to move on to the next song that I want to talk about. Jesse Murph's "How Could You."
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I really, it's a great song, man. So like, what was that writing session like? What's the story behind that one?
That's a very heavy song.
Yeah. You don't have to go too deep into it, but
yeah, I mean, but you know, it's a true story, and I remember it took her a year and a half or so to tell her mom about it. We wrote it when she's 19 now, but we wrote it when she was 17. You know, it's funny. I actually, you know, I'd been working a lot on the Lana stuff around the same time, and I had fallen in love with classical guitar, and we were doing a couple songs where I was using this Epiphone Seville that I really, really love. She was sitting on the floor, I was sitting on the floor, and we just started playing this little lick.
Yep.
She just thought it was so pretty, and she just started filling these gaps. And she's a fantastic writer. She's a fantastic singer, obviously.
Right.
But I've had a chance of, I've written so many songs with her, and I'm grateful that some of them have been so successful. That it's a tough one to talk about because it is so heavy. I just remember her telling me, she told me this story, and I just started crying. I'm a big empath, and I couldn't believe that it happened. And she was just like, I guess at the end of the day, I was just kind of like, how could you do that?
Right.
How could somebody do that? And it kind of just came out of us really simply.
Yeah.
And, you know, for so long, it wasn't anything but a classical in her voice. And we ended up adding some cello and some violins, which are very it's a strange song because I think that this was one of the moments where you kind of disagreed with A&R people a little bit.
Right.
They didn't like how haunting and creaky the strings were, and I was just like, that's like, to me, like,
were they real strings or was it like a mellotron?
Oh yeah. It's, this two great players, a guy named Ben Kaufman and then Emily, I can't remember her name at the time. But there's a plethora of fantastic string players in Nashville. So we cut it in here, and it's a real simple song. I think there's some sub bass on it, maybe. Probably.
No,
Jesse loves sub bass.
Yeah, I really when I ask for the podcast, I'm always asking 2 songs, and I really try to do 2 songs where it's like one that has a lot more production and one that's like really minimal to show just how important producer's job is to show restraint at times too. Because you could have done the thing where it's like, all right, I'll add a kick and a snare and a splash, you know.
So in this situation, Gabe didn't use a kick on acoustic.
Right.
He had an 808 sub.
There you go.
But I remember at the time, that song came out and Growing Sideways by Noah came out, and they both were on like number 1 and 2 on like today's top hits or something, and neither of them had drums.
Right. Yeah.
And it was both of them were acoustic, like very picky. And I was just like, we are in a mad world.
Yep.
Where these 2 songs are doing that. And that song is really amazing live. I mean, both of those songs, they occupy a vein where, you know, Jesse can be up on stage with that song and her brother plays acoustic for that part, and just the rooms. I mean, you could be playing the hardest tracks before. Yeah. And she plays that song and everyone sings every word. And then you go see Growing Sideways live. Yeah. And I just saw it in London back in December, and it was just like, I mean, you think that like it doesn't translate around the world, then you see all these kids, all these people.
Yep. I mean, listen,
it's pretty powerful, dude. So I'm there's pretty grateful to be able to work on stuff that, you know, I think tying it in back to the Christian thing when I was a kid, my mom always wanted me to have purpose for what I was doing. And she wanted me to do it to glorify God. Now, I don't believe in many of the things that I used to believe in as a kid, or I was raised in, but I do believe that having a purpose and intention is important. And I think one of the things I loved about working with Jesse when I started working with her when she was like 16 was that, like, you know, there were times where she would say things that felt like she was saying them because the culture wanted her to say it.
Right.
And it was really important for me to see that, because I can see how easy it is to kind of change your narrative and your purpose to fit what culture wants, or to fit what you think is supposed to be like, this is the hot thing. This is what we do. Right. Like say these words and all this kind of stuff. And we had a lot of big chats about, you know, say what you mean, you know, like, and it's important people listen to your words, and then to write songs like How Could You or Pray or all these things to where they're so thought out and intentional and important, and they become anthems for people. In the same way with Noah, they become anthems of people. And I guess, I don't know. I feel like that is such a privilege to make art and to have people actually listen to it. It's also a responsibility. I think I felt that, like, oh, it doesn't matter what I say.